Hello again, and welcome to It Was Mooney, your source for commentary on all things pop culture related. I'm your host, Kosi, and I'm joined always by Wani B. And today's episode is brought to you by people that use their turn signals when they're driving. You know who you are. Heroes.
The real heroes out there, Kosi,
Exactly.
for sure.
Exactly.
Anyways, on today's episode, it's another trailer trash day. We react to the trailers for Monkey Man and the new Bad Boys Ride or Die trailer. Speaking of Bad Boys, we give our thoughts on the P. Diddy situation.
Oh, goody.
Or I guess, different names. Puff Daddy, Sean Combs. We all know who he is.
Yeah, man.
We give our thoughts on if he's the new villain in the industry, the new Harvey Weinstein.
He's definitely a supervillain, but we'll get into that some more.
And then we give our thoughts on the Disney board battle, the takeover attempt to take out Bob Iger, and basically the state of Disney where we are.
I'm so curious about that. I can't wait for us to get into that. But dude, I don't know if you noticed, but we've been doing this for a whole month now, man.
It's a whole month, man. It's
Whole
our
month.
fifth episode, technically.
Guys.
4.5 if we...
4.5 or episode 0. No, like guys, y'all have been on this journey with us. Anyone that's listening right now, all you weirdos and weird out there, this has been like a big work in progress, and just having the consistency each week and just coming in and just talking movies, man. This has been really fun, dude. So I'm just glad we're able to do this.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here with you, Cozy. Happy to be here for sure.
All right, let's skip all this sentimental stuff, shall we? Let's get into punching and monkeys.
All right, so Monkey Man, off the bat, it pretty much looks like the Indian version of John Wick.
A friend of ours called it Jahan Wick.
Jahan Wick. He's Indian. I don't know if that makes it less racist. Or not.
Is it? We'll have to ask him. But yeah, it looked awesome. It looked awesome. Loved Dev Patel whenever he tries to step out and do stuff. I'm always there to see that. So I'm happy for him as this is his directorial debut. Sorry.
Yeah, he's the leading man. He's been in a couple other things in the past. He was in Green Knight. He was Zuko in the crap Airbender movie.
Oh yeah. He was in Slumdog Millionaire. And Lion. It's an independent movie that I saw him in. So he's Dev Patel. It's not an easy thing to get into the directing chair, and the fact he's not only he's serving as both. He co-wrote the screenplay with a friend, Paul Agunawele and John Cawley. So there's a team, but Dev Patel is going to step into the director's chair and take on new responsibilities that we haven't seen him. And from all accounts, from all the reviews I'm hearing, because people have got to see it early, he does a great job. So yeah, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, he's the leading man. He's coming to his own as an actor. Obviously, it's hard not to make the John Wick comparisons.
Oh yeah, of course.
There's different things. Obviously, different culture. There's a monkey mask.
Is that a bad thing though? But having it look like such a successful property.
It gets to the point where it's like, okay, or is it an homage or is it almost a ripoff? Right? At least from the trailers, I think it's gonna be quality enough. And I think it's going to be its own interesting take in a way that makes it stand out. But, the dude is dressed in...
That monkey mask.
The monkey mask, sure, but also the same exact suit John Wick wore for all his fighting, right? Some of the nightclub scenes in the movie, some of the kind of esoteric... religiosity kind of reminds me of the hotel and some of like the more wild party scenes in John Wick. Again, it can toe the line between, okay, is it going to be an homage or are we just really watching John Wick with a brown dude?
Right.
I still think that can be fun, but obviously from a critical standpoint, that takes off a few points for originality, let's say.
No, I hear you in that one, but I will push back a little bit because one, I think this is something where it wasn't even not going to go to theaters. Jordan Peele saw this and was like, told Dev Patel, like, yo, like, why isn't this going to...
Jordan Peele's name is very prominently featured on the trailers.
Yeah.
They want you to know he was involved with this.
Yeah, he wants you to know, and I think for good reason. I think this is going to... Because you said more, the whole idea of homage versus just copying. I think this is, just from the trailer standpoint, this looks like a person, whoever made this, they look like they're fans of John Wick, The Matrix, Old Boy, The Raid. You can see these elements in there. But I think what sets this apart, obviously, is it's the culture. I don't think personally. I haven't like. I think I love movies like Bahubali and Bahubali Part 2, but also RRR that came out a couple years ago, showing like it's depicting South Asians, Indian people in the forefront, and action roles have them be the heroes. So I think that's going to be a way to kind of differentiate it from John Wick. I think people they like to rib and say, yeah, it looks like it, but I think Monkey Man, I haven't seen it, but I think Monkey Man will stand on its own as something that feels really fresh, and it's also something very personal to Dev Patel, which you can't duplicate that, you can't replicate that, and I think it's showing in what I've seen from the marketing. So definitely, it's an apprehension to have, but I honestly trust first-time director Dev Patel to really make this thing his own. So yeah, it looks awesome, man.
Hey, you know what? In the worst case, more John Wick is not a bad thing.
Exactly. I wouldn't even mind a crossover of it. I could see Monkey Man walking into the hotel and picking a fight, and I think also this cast, Charlton Copley, whenever he's involved in anything, I'm always happy. But again, I'm not sure about the other people on this list. I haven't heard of them, and I love that. I love the fact that this cast is a lot of people that maybe they're big outside the U.S., but now this big budget action movie is giving them a lot of shine. So
this definitely feels like it's a small indie film that's managed to get attention in part. One, obviously, Jordan Peele's name got attached to it.
Most definitely.
But frankly, I mean, that's where the John Wick comparisons actually kind of help it. Right,
yeah,
because we know these movies make money. We know these movies put fans in seats. I mean, everyone I've talked to who's watched a John Wick movie is pretty much excited to watch this movie.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh yeah.
Anyone who likes this high action, high violence, more stylized fights, more the action just feels more kinetic. They don't have a cut every time there's a punch.
You see the combo play out. It's great. I love that.
You see it happen in one take.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a little over the top, sometimes slapstick. We can't forget John Wick falling down the stairs for like 2 solid minutes.
That was like some Looney Tune stuff, man. But I love it.
But you know what? That's why you love it.
Yeah.
This looks like it might be a little more serious, a little more personal. It seems like Dev Patel's family gets killed early on, and he's kind of trying to get revenge for that.
A good old-fashioned revenge story. Yeah, it's about a young man who's on a journey to hunt down the corrupt leaders who were responsible for his mother's death. Everyone loves a revenge story. Worked for John Wick. I hope it works for Monkey Man. So, yeah, man, I'm super excited. Look out for this review coming out next week. But, yeah, we're going to be really, really looking forward to Monkey Man coming out in a couple days. This Friday, actually.
Absolutely. Then the next movie on our list, Bad Boys. What is it? Bad Boys 4 now. Is that correct?
You know what's kind of messed up? Because we got Bad Boys, right? We got Bad Boys 2. I would have thought Bad Boys 3 would be Bad Boys Ride or Die, and then Bad Boys 4 be Bad Boys for Life. But Bad Boys 3 is Bad Boys for Life, and Bad Boys 4 is Ride or Die. And I think there was a missed opportunity, but nonetheless, this looked fun as hell, man.
Honestly, I wonder if the studio really expected Bad Boys 3 to be as big a hit as it was.
Was that an Oscar slap joke or just?
No.
Oh, Kosi.
I almost didn't get
right?
that.
I had to get one in.
No, man. Yeah, obviously Will Smith's been in the news for a lot of wrong reasons the past couple years.
Right.
Now, listen, man. Bad Boys 1 and 2, I mean, look, they were early 2000s, full-on trash. Michael Bay at his best.
I'll defend Bad Boys 3.
Look, we had fun with those movies, but nobody's sitting around pretending those were stone cold classics.
They are not cinema.
Bad Boys 3, surprisingly, again, we don't want to pretend it's going to win an Oscar or anything, but it was a surprisingly good movie.
Early 2020, we thought, okay, it's a January release. Usually January is like a dumping ground for like movies that studios don't really have faith in. We walked in not expecting much, and legitimately we walked out just really, really impressed with it. But these directors, Adil and Bilal, they have they have a certain style about them. It feels really kinetic, stylized, kinetic. It's almost, they're definitely students of Michael Bay. And you can tell they directed some episodes of Miss Marvel 2 years ago. Okay. Yeah, so they've worked on there. They worked on the Batgirl movie that got axed by Warner Brothers. Oof. Definitely, they're like, people in Hollywood like what they're doing and want to work with them. So to see them come back for seconds with this cast, I'm really excited just to see them put this on display.
Anyways, as far as the actual plot of the movie, it seems like basically we've gotten to the point where now we're gonna have the good guys turn fugitives.
Yeah, they're fugitives. Yeah.
You know, we've seen this from movies, from series like Fast and Furious, other franchises.
Harrison
There's a certain
Ford,
point
yeah.
where you run out of things to tell, you run out of unique cop stories to tell.
True, but I like this one because this is not a spoiler. It's in the trailer, but their beloved Captain Conrad Howard, played by Joe Pantoliano, Joey Pants.
Cypher from The Matrix
Exactly.
might be more recognizable for a lot of
Yeah,
y'all.
yeah. So it's in the trailer. It's noted that he was apparently part of some corruption, and his posthumous video saying, "Hey guys, you're reading this, I'm dead," and he's just it's all like curse laden. It's. I love how they're still embracing the whole Bad Boys energy and it's a mythology at this point. It's a 30-year plus old series. So like
Obviously, Reggie makes a comeback, and motherfucker actually looks dirty because he is.
shout out to Reggie. Oh my god. I
You
love
know, credit to these guys. This guy looks the same at 30 as he did at 16.
Reggie, you look
motherfucker
great.
looked 30 the whole time.
you. Dude, they gave Reggie such a hard gave him such a hard time. But it like again, I think the creators and everyone involved in this understands that hey, these are characters that the fans love. It's a world that they've really built out. Because I think in Bad Boys, in Bad Boys for Life, number 3, I think a lot of times when you get to that third movie, the main characters are really old now. They're passing the torch on to a new team. That's always kind of iffy. This new team that they had with Vanessa Ann Hudgens, Alexander Ludwig, Paolo Nunez, like I love Jacob Scipio. Like
You know what? They didn't show him. They didn't show any of these people in the trailer, so I'm wondering if they are bringing back.
they showed Vanessa quickly, and they showed Jacob Scipio, that's Will Smith's kid, quickly.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they're in the trailer, but they're in the cast list here. So
Okay.
dude, DJ Khaled's in this movie. You serious? Okay.
DJ Khaled's still staying relevant.
All right, man. Hey, it's a Miami movie. You can't make one without him. But dude, like, so what do you think, Juan? Is this something where it's definitely a day one viewing, right?
You know, after Bad Boys 3, it's hard not to give him a chance.
Exactly.
I did not go in with any serious expectations for that movie actually being good, and I was very pleasantly surprised. That was early, right before COVID kicked off, right?
Yeah, like a couple months before COVID.
In the before times, the long ago.
That's so nuts. 4 years ago. Yeah, and again, I'm glad to. I didn't do that. Again, we have to go back to references, but after what happened at the Oscars with Will Smith, like you would think that it was the end for him.
You know what? Forget the Oscars, man. What Jada did to Will Smith just last year. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Oscars obviously showed a less than flattering side of Will Smith.
Oh yeah, he's not off the hook for that. Yeah,
But then
Should've
at
done
this
that.
point, you know, he, on some level, you know, he goes out and slaps a man and supposedly in his wife's honor. And then his wife comes out a couple years later and basically, you know, calls him a bitch in front of the whole world. It's sad, man. Honestly, I love still seeing Will Smith acting. He, you know, for our generation, Will Smith was the superstar.
Big Willie style every summer from 1995 to 1999. Every summer was Will Smith. He had Bad Boys 95. He had Independence Day 96, Men in Black 97, Enemy of the State 98, and then Wild Wild West 99. But like you could see that he had like
Ali wasn't there.
Ali was 2000, I believe. But again, like he for like a good 6-7 years, Big Willie was like
I mean,
killing
keep it going, man. iRobot,
Oh my God,
the Men in
2005,
Black
yeah,
movies
yeah.
kept making money. You know, it's not a stretch to say that there was a point in time where having Will Smith in your movie was the biggest box office draw in Hollywood.
Dude, he was the best part of Suicide Squad. And I'll defend Suicide Squad because it wasn't the best, but I had fun.
But it was fun seeing Will Smith do his thing again.
To see him carry a movie,
You almost
would be
forget
awesome.
he was in Bright as well. And again, that movie wasn't
yeah.
good. I don't even think they're making a Bright 2 at this point.
They shouldn't, but yeah. I
But
remember
again,
that.
just Will Smith, rock solid in pretty much everything he does. He's had some clunkers, but who hasn't, right? I mean,
Yeah.
After Earth, probably the less talked about, the better.
Yeah, man. But I really do think I'm glad to see his career kind of getting back to the good trajectory, like because you hate to see just people kind of spiral out of there. So
It's tricky. It's tricky. It's hard to look at him the same way. It's hard to look at him as just this fun, superstar.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I'm just gonna go watch a movie because Will Smith is in there. If anything, he's arguably gotten better at acting. He got an Oscar recently. He
Yeah.
did another Oscar bait movie with Emancipation.
He was great in Concussion about I think 8 years ago,
Yeah, that
2015.
was a
like,
bit ago.
yeah.
He rock solid overall. Pursuit of Happiness, he was tremendous in.
Yeah.
But it's hard to separate a little bit the Will Smith, his real life persona, from Will Smith, the actor. At this point,
Yeah,
he's
and
been in the news for too many wrong reasons.
But I think hopefully this is coming out on June 7th. So, 2 months from now, actually, about 2 months away. Hopefully this kind of will change kind of like the conversation about him and his career. So I'm looking forward to Bad Boys. That's definitely a day one for us. So, yeah, I'm really excited. But I guess to switch gears here, speaking of Bad Boys, Diddy, like, again, and speaking of a figure from our childhood who's been larger than life, who's been responsible for a lot of stuff we've enjoyed, and now, like, I think his downfall is a little bit worse than Will Smith's, but this is definitely
Will
some parallels.
Smith's downfall is more, sad. It's like a personal disaster.
Yes,
He's
great.
kind of
Well
messing
put.
up. You kind of wish he was in a better spot. You
Wanna
you
give him a
have to
hug.
imagine, he needs some therapy. He needs some help. He needs a better wife, frankly.
I'm not going to say BetterHelp. Like, it's like, that's, what BetterHelp is, right?
What?
You know BetterHelp?
No. What is?
Oh, it's like it's like an online therapy service.
Okay.
Basically, like if we were making money, that would have been a good sponsor.
Yeah, it would have been. now you know better help. Get on this. But anyways, so P. Diddy, look, he's been around since the 90s. He was obviously a big part of Biggie coming up.
Yeah,
Him and
that
Biggie
Bad
were
Boys
basically
crew.
best friends. The whole East Coast hip hop scene, P. Diddy kind of was the central figure.
For all you youngins
For a
out
bit of
there,
it.
yeah, for you youngins out there, that East Coast West Coast rivalry in rap, like today, a lot of rappers like they like to sneak this. They like to like today we have like Kendrick and Drake having a bout, but back in the day with East Coast West Coast, it was a real like rivalry and almost like a conflict of
Forget real
ideologies.
rivalry. It was real hate. I mean, people died.
People, yes,
There's no other
yeah.
way to say it. Like, the two biggest names in rap at the time, arguably the two biggest names in rap ever,
Biggie, yeah.
Pac and Biggie, both got killed in at least decent part because of this feud.
Yeah.
Right? Apparently Pac's killer was kind of caught last year. I hadn't.
Dude, and they caught Pac's killer, not to tangent, but Pac's killer, the guy that got, was like on a podcast talking about, like, isn't it crazy? Podcasts will kill us all. Like, people just can't keep their mouth shut. That's.
No, listen, he's changed his name over time. At first, he was Puff Daddy. Then it was Sean Puffy Combs. I think he went by. He went by Puffy.
And then Diddy. Yeah.
Nowadays, he technically goes by Diddy. I think. Listen, the man's been around. He's never been a particularly great rapper himself, but he
Excellent
produced
producer.
a lot of classic albums, a lot of classic songs. It wasn't just Biggie.
Like
Mace, Kim K.
Mary J. Blige, Usher, like
He brought Usher up.
like a whole. And again, he's somebody even from childhood to adulthood, somebody where if you thought of somebody who was successful, powerful, had just had the juice, as people like to call it, it was P. Diddy Combs. Like, he was like almost a king of New York, and he had such reverence because of like the people that he put on in the music industry, but also you would hear stories like, hey, P. Diddy is like, he's kind of rough. Like he like any man. Like I think a lot of managers are like have that persona of being like kind of standoffish or tough to work with. But you'd hear stories, and I think that's where kind of a lot of this stuff began, because you hear rumblings about just how he would treat people. Really.
Listen, if we've learned anything from the Weinstein and the Bill Cosby situations,
Dan Schneider,
is that these things, especially in the 90s, early 2000s, people knew, but they didn't, because of fear, because of the culture, because of whatever reason you want to call it. They didn't speak out on these things, right? It's clear This is not something that's new. And again, you would hear, in hindsight, you'll see shows that make these little jokes. You'll see these interviews with people that kind of obliquely mention these things we now understand to be, frightening and terrifying and terrible.
Dave Chappelle tried to warn us in 2003 about what Diddy was up to, about the BS he was up to, but we didn't listen to him. We just laughed it off.
50 Cent has been warning us for a while, man. He has a documentary coming out and everything talking about this stuff.
Oh, okay.
Straight up, 50 Cent has a documentary coming out about some of these allegations and kind of calling out Diddy. 50 Cent don't give a fuck, man.
Man, but I think the fact that, like, because you would think that maybe there's like a code of silence or kind of a code of like, hey, you don't say nothing, because the way it kind of goes is a lot of these big movers and shakers have dirt on each other. So like a lot of people aren't like so forthcoming to call this out. So 50 Cent kind of taking that leap there.
I mean, we saw it a few weeks ago when we talked about Drake quiet on the set. Drake's this famous guy, but at the end of the day, there's the people with power, which are the producers, the money man. These artists are obviously richer than any of us and probably have more influence and power than us. But they also have a lot more to lose, right? If
I see.
If the deal is, okay, Harvey Weinstein or Diddy or these men, if I kind of stay quiet and just kind of put up with it, I get to keep making my money. I get to keep making my music, my TV shows, my everything. Yeah. Get to keep my fame. Get to keep doing what I love, what I've wanted to do my whole life. And if I don't keep quiet, not only is there a good chance people won't even believe me, and that I'll actually be the one getting in trouble with libel laws and who else, and I'll have this legal battle to fight all of a sudden. So not only do I have to deal with that, but, there's the, not even implied, clear threat that your career is entirely over.
And that's what keeps people in. That's what keeps them in. Like there's a steady stream of like, hey, here's how life is going. It's all great, but just know if you step out of line or if you don't agree with any of this, it could be it for you. And that kind of coercion, like it makes people, do horrible things to like stay in that. And I think P. Diddy realized that, and like he played upon that, and just hearing a lot of stuff that's happening. That whole raid last week, like you saw a video, like they handcuffing his kids and him not being around, like it just did not look good. And then when you kept going in, the whole Cassie thing blew it open. Cassie was like, hey, I don't care. Here's what's happened. I've been silent since 2005 about this. I don't care. And that really did kind of blow the whole thing open, like for everyone to say, hey, let's look into this guy some more. So
yeah, so that was the stuff. There was another singer or rapper that also had. There was a couple. There was I think 3 or 4 women that had lawsuits against Diddy, and then kind of the big one that started blowing this whole thing wide open was Lil Rod.
And also Meek Mill. Well, that's alleged, I'd say.
It's alleged, but basically the way Lil Rod described someone P. Diddy was having sex with, it's not super hard to guess that it's Meek Mill. It could be somebody else, but it was. I think it was something like, a Philadelphia rapper who was boyfriends with Nicki Minaj. You know what I mean?
He said. Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't exactly.
All right, Lil Rod. All right.
It wasn't exactly like super cryptic or.
Yeah.
Obviously Meek Mill denies it, and it'd be hard to know unless somebody says it specifically or specific evidence comes out. But from the looks of it, Lil Rod got the receipts. Right. He's not just saying this. It's no longer just a case of he said, or he said, she said. There's supposedly evidence that implicates Diddy strongly enough that the feds finally took action and straight up raided his house. That's generally not a step they take unless, there's something. There's something there. Especially not for rich people. We've already seen Epstein, Weinstein, all these other people get away with it for years. For it to reach this level, you have to think there's something there.
Well, I guess let me ask you this then. It's like, what is it? Because it seems to be just almost tradition. Like, powerful people you see all the time. These powerful people that they have these really dark private lives, like and with P Diddy, you heard about that thing, like he allegedly tried to blow up Kid Cudi's car, and like Kid Cudi has like can almost confirm that one. Like, so what is it about these powerful people? It doesn't matter where you're in music, politics, whatever, but what is it about that like kind of fosters this? Do you think?
That's a deep question, Cozy.
Because I think it's a bunch of yes men. I think a lot of people that like let things happen because the
So
money's good.
in one sense, yes. In one sense, yes. At some point, it's just one guy, right? It's just P Diddy. It's not like he's a particularly buff or scary
But he has
dude
so much
individually.
power, though. He has so much hold.
So
over
where does
people.
the power come from? Obviously, the money, the connections. I think part of it is just the willingness to exercise it. Quite frankly, I think most
Yeah,
people.
go on with that. Yeah.
I think most people, even quite a few powerful people, like, I don't know personally, but I don't think Joe Biden is going around molesting people, or George Bush or Ronald Reagan or all these other people, and they're clearly more powerful than P Diddy, right? And we can go into plenty of other folks whose names aren't coming up in the news, right? The ones you hear about the most are obviously the pieces of shit whose names make national headlines. But I guess my overall point with it is that these people are willing to take advantage of that power in disastrous ways. And quite frankly, I've even seen it myself in certain jobs. Nothing as dark as what happened
Yeah,
with Diddy.
yeah.
But, you're on a job where the owner or the boss is ordering people to do stuff they know is unsafe. They know is, at the very least, questionably legal. They know is bad for them personally. But you kind of are brought up with this mindset of, respect the authority figures.
Okay.
Respect the people in charge. He's the boss. It's his company. What he says goes. Right? There's this kind of mindset of just putting your head down and doing what the authority figure tells you to do.
Because you want to kind of keep the peace. You want to just keep your job. You want to just...
For many reasons. And
All right, I see
even
that.
at some point, it's just literally, I feel like, an instinct for some people to kind of...
Okay.
I mean, there's all the other factors too.
Yeah.
There's the other factors too. But I've truly seen people where it's, I guess with the opposite example, you see these rebellious people where no matter how, or they'll always find something to fight against. They'll always find something to protest against, right? They'll always be speaking truth to power, so to
there's always
speak.
something, yeah.
Right? Even when, like, they'll almost find stuff to get pissed about when there isn't even anything there. And I guess there's the opposite, where some people, just see this power and they're like, okay, well, I'm not gonna make waves. I was just trying to do my own thing. I was just trying to make my music or do my job, and then get home. And the simplest way to do that, even though it sucks and it goes against my morals and I know it's wrong, sometimes the simplest way to do that is to just say yes, sir.
But I almost don't want to believe, because it almost makes you believe, like, or think that, like, in order to be successful and, like, powerful, you have to almost be a sociopath, which I'm not ready to believe, but from the way it's looking, like, you kind of almost got to have that kind of dog in you to do that. So
you honestly, again, it's tricky because it sucks to believe, but you're not. More and more, I don't think you're wrong. More and more, I see these people where they're not the brightest. They're not thinking everything through the most carefully. They're not doing everything the most skillfully or the most competently. Look at Donald Trump. He's a perfect example of this, right?
yes, that's what I was thinking about.
Right. I not even wanted to get into politics, but the dude is this 80-year-old man who...
He's 80? He looks great.
Or maybe just, 79 or something. He's buffoonish. He acts instinctively, impulsively. What's really Donald Trump's strength? Most people, if they shake your hand and tell you, hey, we're going to do this deal, this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. Somebody looks you in the eye, shakes your hand, tells you. For most people, that's it. They're going to have a very hard time just outright lying to you, right? They might not quite complete everything. There might be misunderstandings and stuff, but most people have a hard time looking somebody else in the eye and just openly lying to them.
And lying and I guess manipulating them too.
Yeah, just taking advantage of them, if you want to put it that way. Yeah. Lying usually in the service of manipulation.
Yeah.
Right? So, again, Donald Trump comes up and tells you, hey, we're going to do this deal. We're going to make this negotiation. He comes up, he shakes your hand. He's going to pay you X amount of money to build X buildings for him. And then he comes out and he just rips you off and he doesn't pay you. Again, for most people, that's just, at least in the U.S. In other countries, they might be more used to that kind of behavior.
I guess with Trump, then the whole draw is like he's so magnetic, he's so charismatic that like he's able to shake your hand.
That's getting into the specifics. But at the end of the day, people want to believe in the system. They want to believe there are just rules. They want to believe that bad guys get punished, and that if you're successful, it's because you were good at what you did and because you deserved to be successful, so to speak.
Okay.
Because you were the best producer or the best businessman or the best whatever else. Maybe not the best, but, at least really good. And it's tough to deal with a world where a reality where, hey, a lot of the people in power, maybe not all, I'm trying to be optimistic here, but a lot of the people in power are just there to be in power, and that they're very willing and able to take advantage of that.
And I can definitely see the parallels kind of like this with how P. Diddy treated people, how he saw his power. Again, it's all coming out, so we don't have the full scope. But again, what we know is it's disheartening. It's not cool. And again, I think going back to just, it's almost like kind of like what Quiet on the Set did for Nickelodeon for like, that was my childhood. This is like what I grew up watching. And it kind of soured it, or not soured it, maybe look at it in a different way. This definitely made me look at like P. Diddy and all this stuff in just a different light. And it's.
I mean, listen.
Yeah, it's upsetting.
This is a pop culture podcast, and we both love movies. We both love entertainment, music, all this stuff. We've loved a lot of Diddy's music. Oh yeah, unfortunately.
I loved him and get him to the Greek. Him as a comedic actor was actually really funny. He's done sketches and stuff. He's a funny dude.
No, but listen, don't idolize these people, folks. The number one takeaway from all of this.
Okay, that's a great point. Yeah.
Listen, they're entertainers. It's not wrong to be entertained by someone who's entertaining.
But they're not our role models.
You shouldn't act like you're their friends. You shouldn't act like you're invested in their personal lives, right? A lot of these people are pieces of shit. Who they portray on TV or on camera, the paper they create and their PR departments create for them, none of that's real. None of that's right. Even for the actual good, wonderful people. Like, I truly believe Robin Williams and Bob Ross and, certain people are Mr. Rogers. I truly believe they are absolutely as wonderful as they seem. At the same time, as I say that, you know what? If it came out that Mr. Rogers had a sex cult,
Oh, I guess you just never know. Sometimes.
At this point, you got to be desensitized to it. You can't worship these folks.
Okay, no, I understand that. I won't go that far. I think I definitely, because I'd like to hope and still have the naivety to hope that a lot of these people aren't up to nefarious things. So in a selfish way, it doesn't ruin what I enjoy, the music and movies I enjoy. But I think on two fronts, I don't want that to be true for selfish reasons, but also I don't want it to be true because, I don't condone any of their actions. But again, is this something that like is inherent within people that are in that kind of position? And it's a question that needs further
it's
discussion.
A deep philosophical question.
We don't have the time, but
does power corrupt? Do the corrupt seek power?
Yeah, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right? Yeah.
But I'd like to think again. There are some people in power that seem to be okay. There are at least no allegations about them. Their public personas seem decent, but it's just me being optimistic. At some point, if the Quiet on the Set documentary taught us anything, is that the nice, charismatic dude who's good with kids might actually be molesting them. Doesn't mean you should assume every dude who's good with kids is molesting your kids, but it does mean
makes you think.
There isn't some clear, easy set of behaviors that lets you point at somebody and say, that's the bad guy. That's the evil dude. Go ahead and arrest him. It's not like, these movies where they show the serial killers and bad guys to be these creepy looking people that you can instantly tell from a view are the bad guys. No, a lot of these are charming, wonderful folks, 99% of human beings. And they just happen to be horrifically awful to that other 1% that they know they can take advantage of.
Like, I can only hope that Diddy was just... I think it just brings to light just a lot of this stuff that, like, people have known over the years. And again, it's shocking to a lot of people. But again, just like Quiet on the Set, I'm glad it's being brought out. People are being charged. The right people are being held accountable. So we'll see how this goes. This will definitely be a developing story over the couple weeks. But yeah, we definitely wanted just to give our thoughts on that. But moving on though to another guy who's
another power play.
But this one was did not go so well for Mr. Nelson Peltz. Well, he's acting like a putz, but yeah, Nelson Peltz. I guess tell us about that one.
So going into the little details, basically Nelson Peltz is a Disney investor activist who felt that Disney was not being run in the correct direction.
How so, Lon?
He kind of teamed up with Ike Perlmutter. Is that how you say his last name?
Perlmutter.
Or Perlmutter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of y'all Marvel fans might recognize that name because he was kind of the head honcho of Marvel when Disney started taking over, when Marvel movies started becoming a big deal.
Yeah, I believe he was like the head of their the head of their marketing. I believe I could be.
He was kind of in charge, basically, phase 1 of the Marvel era. Back when Avengers was coming out, back when none of this was a sure thing, none of us realized the juggernaut Marvel would become in the movies. Superhero movies were a thing back then, but they weren't the thing like they are today, where, half the movies being made are superhero movies.
Right.
So he kind of started that era, but then he became known more nowadays basically for his thoughts on women and people of color. Essentially made the point, part of the reason we didn't have a Black Widow movie in a timely fashion.
Or a Black Panther movie.
Part of the reason we didn't have Black Panther earlier on some of these other movies is frankly because Ike Perlmutter came out and basically said, movies centered on women and black folks and other colored folks don't make money.
I think even notoriously he was back when they were recasting Iron Man 2 for Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle. Ike Perlmutter was the one who specifically said, "Hey, man, like just get Don Cheadle because all black people look alike. They won't even matter. It's a different actor." So stuff like that kind of it kind of lets you see just how this guy's mind operates and how he thinks of people and actors.
So anyways, not to get too much into the power plays of old white dudes, but but basically these guys were arguing that, Bob Chapek was a failed CEO, which I don't think anybody can really...
He was the guy they brought that...
He was Iger's successor.
Okay.
Right, he was Iger's successor. So after Iger kind of stepped away a little bit...
Oh, yeah, okay, so during that COVID era, okay.
Yeah, he was the guy who was in charge... Stuff like Black Widow was coming
Secret
out.
Invasion is his fault, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I think technically Iger was back by then, but obviously it would have been produced and executed.
Okay, got it.
Secret Invasion was bad, y'all. There's no sugarcoating.
That is not a shout out to
especially considering how good it was supposed to be.
Exactly.
The potential it had. Anyways, so they come out, basically come to shareholders and say, hey, these guys are doing a bad job. Iger did a very poor job, and the board did a very poor job of electing a successor last time. So let me take over, right? Let me take over.
This is what Peltz was saying?
Yeah. Okay. So he was going to take over the board, basically put his people in charge of the board.
And it's because he thought Disney wasn't being ran correctly.
Right. And I think Ike...
That makes sense, actually.
I think Ike was supposed to take over. I mean, it's not evil what he's doing.
If that... Like, that part right there, that actually...
It's not entirely evil.
He has an argument.
Of course, where it starts to become a little more nefarious is where it seems like their argument is really just that Disney's gone woke. Listen, Disney... I think we want to talk about this, Kosi. Look, Disney, just a few years ago, was the cultural juggernaut. I mean, to say that is an understatement, right? Well, they're probably bigger than the next 2-3 studios combined.
Yeah, it was the biggest thing in the world 5 years ago. Yeah.
Right? I mean, right before COVID started, it wasn't just Endgame, right? Pixar movies,
Disney remakes.
Basically, the Pixar animated, the Oscar animated category was basically the Pixar category for the bulk of Pixar's life.
Dude, in the same year, the same year Endgame came out, we had both the Aladdin remake and Dumbo and Toy Story 4 all in the same
They
year.
have all these live action
and Lion King. Those all came out the same year.
Only Lion King really did tremendous out of those. Although Toy Story 4 did pretty well.
I loved Aladdin personally.
Aladdin was fun. Lion King was just a retelling of the original.
Right,
basically.
all right.
But anyways, the real problem has been, I mean, the storytelling is just creatively bankrupt, right? It's not about the fact that it's a woman in front of the screen or a person of color or a Latino or whatever else instead of a white dude.
It's bad writing, you think?
It's about the fact that these are just lame stories. I mean, go back to Secret Invasion, right? You have Samuel Jackson showing up as an old dude. You have no real context to what's been happening for 20 years. There's no interconnectedness to the rest of the universe like the movies used to feel like they had.
Yeah. I personally, I didn't need it to feel like, because Secret Invasion is a beloved comic run in Marvel. I didn't need it to feel like that because Civil War was not Civil War in the movie as it was in the comics. But the fact that like it clearly they didn't really have like a plan, or like they didn't really think out what was going to happen and its ramifications, if any, to the overarching universe, which is a Marvel staple, having stuff have ramifications, having stuff kind of like tie in, but it didn't. It was kind of like a little blip.
We're at this point, we're 3 years removed from Eternals, where they introduced
those guys,
Harry Styles and the Black Knight
and Blade
and Mahershala Ali in the post trailers. We haven't seen anything. They've barely even referenced that a massive celestial thing literally burst forth from the earth. Supposedly they're doing a movie finally where they reference that and take advantage of it. But 5 years later, it just doesn't feel timely.
But but the problem, the reason why that's been going on is because of women's. That's why. That's been the problem. Juan, I've solved it. It's the women's and Mr. Putz and Mr. Putz here had I think he was onto something. I'm sorry, Peltz.
Putz. But listen, man. Look, there's plenty of good women-led movies. There's plenty of good, successful women-led movies.
I will say,
WandaVision was tremendous.
Exactly.
I actually really liked the first Captain Marvel.
I loved Miss Marvel, the show.
Miss Marvel was really fun.
I love that show.
Again, what do these stories have in common? They're either fun movies, good chipper writing, good jokes, good feel for the movie where you're just having it's nothing life-changing, but it's a good time. That's kind of Captain Marvel, Thor Ragnarok, some of these movies that introduce Valkyrie. But you also have these other movies where they the main thing is they focus on the character, they focus on the artist behind it. They're not just throwing stuff on screen to kind of move together some overarching plot.
Or to check a box. Because I think being a black person, I personally love seeing people that look like myself in the media that I see. What I don't want to see happen is them putting us in there when it doesn't serve the story or push the story forward, where it's just, I don't want to be a token. I know how it feels to be a token in real life. I don't want to be tokenized in stuff that I watch, but it's a very fine line. I think what the studios might have learned, sometimes they learned the wrong lessons from stuff like a Black Panther or Wonder Woman 2017, where, they want to see black people. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay, they want to see women. Okay, yeah. But no. We just want to, we're not stupid. We can tell when we're being pandered to. We can tell when we're being, fed, what we think is right. No, people just like good storytelling, compelling characters. And I think there was a time, I think Hollywood's getting back to this. There was a time, though, that they really wanted to really just check boxes off. And again, it's a tough thing.
Obviously, I agree with you that I'm not interested in them just checking off a box either. Though I think, again, it can be tricky. Something like Star Wars.
Very tricky, yeah.
Where there's aliens and all this stuff. What's wrong with having a random black dude show up, right?
Yeah.
But
your example about Lord of the Rings, going in that one.
Well, we can go into that one. But I just made some jokes about that one because, we have a city full of elves, a whole elven culture, and then one random black elf. He doesn't have any. Apparently, he was born from the White Elves because you don't see his dad, mom,
And at
siblings,
first,
any brothers.
I didn't like agree with you on that, but the way you kind of broke it down, it made a lot of sense. Actually,
I just need. I'm not having a problem with the black elf. I have a problem with the fact that there's only one black elf, right? Like, did he have revitiligo? Like, did his skin turn black over time, over the millennium? Listen, man, it sounds like a joke, but it's not very coherent.
Like, does it serve the story that he's here, or is he just here for set dressing?
Even necessarily
which
think
I don't want.
It specifically always has to serve the story, but it has to make sense. It can't stand out in bad reasons.
Well, I think from a filmmaking standpoint, I vehemently do agree. Like, whatever the decisions you make from writing, creating it, you should make those with the idea that, okay, how does this best serve the story we're trying to tell? If you try to make it so like, oh, we want other stuff that isn't about the story, that's where you kind of get wishy-washy and get to where it's soulless.
This is particularly important for fantasy and sci-fi because, we have to suspend our disbeliefs.
Of course.
To enjoy these movies, right? We know there's no dragon on screen. We know elves aren't real. We know there's no space battles, right? That's all we know that for a fact. So when you have these world building elements that make no sense, it obviously kind of takes you out of the plot.
Yeah.
But listen, no. Again, it's a little bit reductive, but Disney needs to get back to making quality programming.
And what Peltz was saying was not. He wasn't trying to. He wasn't doing this to serve the story. He's doing it because he was being a douchebag. That
he wanted power.
He was in the 50s.
He wanted power at the end of the day, and he thought, sending it back to all white folks. Listen, it's not going to matter if it's all white folks if the stories have some of the dumb beats they've had lately.
People will still hate them. They'll just
right again. Like the Eternals was kind of meaningless. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Not only did they sideline the Wasp, the movie had kind of no purpose other than being a Jonathan Majors showcase. And now Jonathan Majors isn't even part of the whole thing. Star Wars will always be defined by somehow Palpatine returned. At least Disney's Star Wars.
I'll still defend Last Jedi, but that's a whole other.
I enjoyed Last Jedi as well, but it's not even a good. It's not even a legitimately good movie. It's just I thought that it was interesting the way they try to subvert Star Wars expectations.
No, but I definitely see what you mean by how this shareholder, like the Peltz guy, his idea to save the company was short-sighted. It wasn't really well thought out, and as you said, they kind of voted against him. And
I really don't think the woke stuff has anything to do with it. Black Panther is one of the most profitable movies Marvel has had. Same with Captain Marvel. We just saw Barbie being as woke a movie as humanly possible. Literally a walking advertisement for wokeness. And it made over $1 billion, right? The idea, I mean, obviously women want to watch movies
yeah,
too.
But Barbie would have made $1 billion if it sucked. It would have made money, but if it sucked,
obviously,
it wouldn't have made as much.
If it was a dumb toy movie,
it wouldn't have made as much
that was
money.
Comparable to Transformers.
Right.
Yeah, obviously, all people are going to go watch it and rewatch it and talk about it, months and years down the line. Quality programming is where it's at. And by far, the best way, at least from what I'm seeing, is to give artists and to give talented people the leeway. Not infinite, obviously. The movie's still got to make money.
Yeah,
all, right?
Yeah. You still
but
need to
give
Kevin
some
Feige,
leeway for them to make real art. Don't make everything by committee. Don't, act like some executive in a C-suite knows what the people really want, right? Don't check boxes and tokenize people just to win the diversity cookie points. We can do better than that.
No, you're totally right, and I think that with Iger back and Kevin Feige's really come back in his own and kind of retaken claim of this, I really do see us coming back into this having good quality movies with Deadpool 3 coming out in.
I hope so. I hope so
3
because
months?
it's sad to see Disney struggling so much. It's sad to get to the point where pretty much every Disney property that's coming out, I'm looking at ISSQ are we sure this is going to be good?
And we're fans. We're both. I'm a little bit more forgiving of stuff than Juan is, but still, our criticisms is because we are fans of this stuff and we want it to be good.
Hey, listen. There was a point in time where anything Marvel or Star Wars or Disney would crap out, I'd go watch. Right nowadays, it's going to be hard to even justify watching Acolyte. But anyways, Kosi, let's. I think we've talked about enough about the topic. Let's get to the plug of the week.
Oh yeah, dude. The plug of the week this week. Mine is a little bit somber. I just wanted to bring a highlight to this. Just prayers up for the family of Chance Perdomo. He was an actor that if you watch Gen V, it's on Amazon. It's the Boy spinoff. about the Godolphin University. So like it's like a university to train up supers. Chance was on that show. He was also on the Chilling Adventures of Christina. Over the weekend, Chance tragically passed away in a motorcycle accident. Is what they're saying. Just a great actor. I didn't see him a lot. I didn't watch Sabrina, but I definitely watched Gen V. He was great. His performance is fantastic in Gen V. Chance was able to like do this thing where he's able just to act with no words, with just his eyes and just with his facial expression. Was able to say so much in a scene where he wasn't really having to say a lot. And I just remember that, and just a huge shock, really, because I was really excited for season 2.
Huge shock, huge loss. I mean, the kid had a bright future.
Definitely had a bright future. Yeah,
it's always tragic to see somebody pass so early, but obviously it takes up that little extra dimension when you realize you're missing out on so much and so much talent and so much.
Yeah, he got a lot more
quality work. Obviously, shout outs to his family.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what they're going through.
Yeah, make this not a sad one. What's your plug of the week?
Yeah, no, so my plug of the week is a little more lighthearted. I'm going to plug Reacher Season 2.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So if y'all know about Reacher,
Hell yeah.
Basically Jack Reacher is this massively jacked dude. Looks like a human Sasquatch. Thad from Blue Mountain State.
Thad, Alan Ritchson from Blue Mountain State is Thad. Yeah, he plays Jack Reacher. Yeah, man.
No, listen, man. He's basically a real-life superhero where he just goes around being a cop, but he's just so big, he just kicks everybody's ass all the time.
He whoops everybody's ass. He's like Pootie Tang mixed in with like Black Dynamite. It's amazing to see this guy operate.
The action is pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's realistic in a lot of ways, they're never really make you question that this guy's going to win.
You know what's crazy? They got Tom Cruise to play this same character. Like earlier, because in the
5'5", skinny ass Tom Cruise.
In the books, he looks like Alan Ritchson, the guy they have now. In the books, he's described as what Alan Ritchson is, but like they got Tom Cruise. I enjoyed that first Reacher movie, but goodness, like both seasons of Reacher have just been fun.
The energy is just fun throughout. It's these cop mysteries. They give you good reasons to hate the villains. They make you root for. I mean, frankly, Reacher is a perfect example of the kind of asshole power tripping cop we see shoot up folks that don't need to be shot up in real life, quite frankly.
But he's using his powers for good.
But the show just makes it very clear that he's on the side of good, that he's a righteous man, and that the bad guys he's fighting against are so bad they just deserve it. So, it does kind of make a case for police brutality, but damn, it makes it look good. Reacher makes that look good.
Yes, he does. All right, man. Thanks for that plug of the week. And I guess with that, dude, hey, man, episode 5 is down, bro. This is great.
Episode 5, man.
Our month is a month in, dude.
Hopefully we can get to episode 500, y'all.
Yes, guys, and we can't do without you guys. So again, if you guys like what you hear, please find us on Spotify, like and subscribe to us. Just search for It Was Mooney on Spotify. And again, until next time, adios, guys.
Adios.